So, uh, so the big thing that I've been thinking about right now, and you were talking about once you study a lot of different types of innovation, you start to connect the dots. And one of the things that I've been really interested in is the relationship that AI might share with other types of innovation, especially with things like biotechnology, which is actually my background. So I actually, I'm coming from majoring in biotechnology and biochemistry before I found finance. So this is something that really is like excites me. It's one of the, when I think about all these giant databases with all these genomes and the way that AI functions, it's a big problem solver, big puzzle solver. And so I'm curious if anything stood out to you and the relationship that these might develop in the future, and maybe if quantum computing will also kind of help play a role in that.
I think that's very perceptive. And you said the right two words there when you said quantum computing, because now we're kind of looking at kind of two different scenarios, right? So there's some things that just are meant to be mass market adopted, right? Like we were just talking about, kids in their basement of their grandparents that are buying Dogecoin, versus the mass market adopt. There are certain things like cloud computing and AI that just are going to plug right in with what Microsoft has already got built out with the enterprise, with what Google's already got built out with consumers. Like these are mass market ready technologies. Quantum computing is not even necessarily going to be mass market. It's really neat because there are certain problems out there that we cannot solve today. They are too hard. And even with AI, we just don't have the horsepower to even solve them. You mentioned biotechnology. That's one of many things that just there's so many inputs and so many things you can monitor now that we can have the data, but we just can't even come up with the answer. It's too hard. It takes too long to process these things. How can you simulate all of the vibrations of a molecule that's supposed to be going out there and either being a diagnostic or a therapeutic or something that's interacting with the rest of the body? Or even look for all of the interactions between all of the molecules in your blood right now, or even all of the interactions between everything that's going in your brain as you're trying to detect or diagnose or treat things like Alzheimer's. On top of that, I mean, there's even more complicated things out there. Nuclear fusion has been something that's been talked about right now, but how do you design something like that? How can you proactively design weather patterns based on all of the pressures and temperatures and the gradients between them of every latitude and longitude on the Earth? I mean, things like this, we're getting pretty good at collecting data, and we don't really know what to do with it. Now, quantum computing is so interesting because all of a sudden you've got a completely different way of actually doing this computing, number crunching all this data that you're collecting in a way that maybe, and again, question mark on that, but maybe we can start taking millions, if not billions of inputs, resonating these qubits at the right frequencies and getting an output in seconds or minutes rather than thousands of years. Even GPUs and CPUs and the things that we've traditionally been doing, even for the biggest supercomputers in the world, at these academic, labs that have got the budget to do them, maybe if we just stop looking at zeros and ones and these mathematical calculations, we completely do these different types of computation, we can solve some of these really, really hard problems. And so all of this is my long-winded way of saying, I don't think quantum computing catches on like AI or cloud computing does, where NVIDIA is going out and installing GPUs into these data centers that are being run by Microsoft and Google out there. I think it's more like a consulting project where you've got a biotechnology company or a drug developer that's trying to interact or look at the interactions of all of these things that they're doing as they're creating the appropriate molecules for these drugs, that all of a sudden, can they pay $50 million for a quantum computer that can solve these things where no one else could? Hell yeah, they can. And they're going to, because they've got a really deep pockets to do it. And by the way, if Merck does that, Bristol's going to do the exact same thing. Pfizer's going to do the exact same thing. It's going to become an arms race to keep up your competitor with your competitors because you don't want them to have an edge over what you do.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me, and I think the differentiation was something that I didn't have previously between what solutions a quantum will really be based towards. Because I think a lot of people do this too, because a lot of the articles I read kind of look at it as just like a level up. of AI that everyone will use, rather than having be a specific solution for more complex problems. So is there anything promising right now that stands out to you? I know there are some quantum computing companies out there with big promises. What has your attention right now, if any?
I'll tell you, Josh, if you make it up to the MIT conferences, no matter what year you go, you're going to hear the exact same thing, which is going to be quantum computing is 5 years away. Now, if you go the next year, they're going to tell you it's another 5 years. And if you go 5 years out, they're still going to tell you it's 5 years out. It's like this chicken and the egg problem. Um, businesses that are eager to adopt this say, okay, $100,000 a qubit, 100 qubit machines out, that's $10 million we got to spend for a quantum computer that we'll plug into. That's pretty darn expensive. If you're going to charge us that much money, you better be accurate, right? We're gonna define this problem and do whatever you tell us to at the interface, but it's got to be right. Otherwise, we're wasting our money, and then nobody can do that right now, right? Nobody's got a perfectly useful, commercially useful, error-corrected quantum computer that is even economically feasible, much less certainly going to be accurate. Noise can't, you're canceling out all the noise and all this other stuff. But on the other hand, no one wants to build the computers, without having kind of customers lined up that are ready to do it. So that's why we're always 5 years out. You hear the killer apps all the time being talked about, and we're kind of aware of them. But on the other hand, I don't know. I'm not sure. I still think it's one of those, it's going to be cool one day and everybody's eager to adopt it. But when that moment happens, is it going to be 2023 or 2033? I couldn't tell you right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to, bring up a point you made, as far as the accuracy goes, just talking to the few data scientists I know in my network asking about quantum computing, the ultimate issue comes down to accuracy. You can get to the result faster, but, does it really make a difference if the result's wrong? So that seems to be the number one challenge when comparing quantum to high performance computing or whatever they're using these days.
It's insane how hard it is to do, right? Like we think about it, and even experts in the field struggle with even making these things, because any interference in the system screws everything up, right? It could be just a slight vibration from an earthquake that happened hundreds of thousands of miles away. It could be radiation from clay in the bricks of the building that you're using. I mean, any kind of interference just throws off all the results, and you say, okay, scrap it, do it again. You look at what MIT's doing, they're trying to build it from the ground up. And even they are saying, yeah, okay, we're doing some neat, science projects, but to make this economical, very, very challenging.
Yeah,
that seems to be what it's going to come down to. Is it economically feasible?